If you've ever been the family ATM while they treated you like you were broke, hit that like button and subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss what happened next. My name is Rebecca Hayes, and for 32 years I've been my family's favorite punchline. The daughter who wasted her potential. The sister who never figured things out. The one they stopped inviting to important events because I might embarrass them in front of their wealthy friends. Today, sitting in the planning meeting for the Riverside Children's Foundation annual gala in the conference room of the Hayes Cultural Center, a building that bore my last name for reasons they were about to discover, I was done being invisible. But this story starts 7 years ago when I made a decision that changed everything. The forgotten daughter. I grew up in Boston's Beacon Hill, in a brownstone that screamed old money and older expectations. My father was a prominent surgeon. My mother sat on every charitable board that mattered. And my sister Melissa? Melissa was the golden child, Harvard Law, partnership at a white shoe firm by 35, married to a cardiologist, living in a $4.2 million townhouse in Back Bay. Then there was me. I went to Boston University. I studied nonprofit management, which my father called organized begging. I worked at a community center in Dorchester, came home to my studio apartment in Allston, and spent holidays listening to detailed accounts of Melissa's latest legal victory while my work helping underprivileged kids learn to read went unmentioned. Rebecca's still doing that volunteering thing, Mom would say when friends asked, her tone suggesting I was finger painting with toddlers, not managing a $2 million youth development program. The final straw came at my 30th birthday dinner. Melissa announced she'd been named Rising Star by Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly. Everyone toasted champagne and took photos for her social media. Then my father turned to me. And Rebecca, are you still working with those kids in Dorchester? I was promoted to executive director last month. That's wonderful, honey. Mom patted my hand. It's so important to give back even if it doesn't pay well. Maybe one day you'll be ready for a real career. Across the table, Melissa smiled into her wine glass. That night, I sat in my studio apartment and made a list. Not of grievances, I'd long since stopped keeping score of their dismissals. But of assets. Of connections. Of possibilities they'd never bothered to notice because they were too busy measuring my worth by their standards instead of seeing what I'd actually built. What they didn't know could fill volumes. What they were about to learn would destroy their entire worldview. The silent empire. My grandmother Elena died when I was 23, leaving me something unexpected, $850,000 and a letter. Rebecca, she wrote, you have your grandfather's heart. You see people, not positions. Use this money to build something that matters. Don't tell your parents. They'll try to make you invest it wisely, which means the way they think you should. Trust yourself. I followed her instructions exactly. I invested $250,000 in a struggling community center in Roxbury, taking a board position. With proper management and grant writing expertise, we turned it around in 18 months. Within 3 years, we'd expanded to 3 locations and attracted a $2 million capital campaign donation from a tech billionaire who'd grown up in the neighborhood. That billionaire was Marcus Chin. He became my mentor, my first major investor, and eventually my business partner. You have vision, Marcus said over coffee when I was 26. You see how real estate and community impact intersect. Most developers build luxury condos and call it neighborhood improvement. You could actually do it right. We shook hands that day. Marcus provided capital and real estate expertise. I provided nonprofit management, community relationships, and a vision for impact-driven development. The Chin Hayes Foundation was born. For the next 7 years, we bought underutilized properties in transitional Boston neighborhoods. But instead of gentrifying them into oblivion, we developed mixed-use spaces. Affordable housing, community centers, small business incubators, cultural venues. Buildings that served neighborhoods instead of displacing them. We started with a former factory in Roxbury, converting it into 60 affordable apartments plus a 15,000 square foot community center. Then an abandoned school in Dorchester became artist studios and a performance space. Then a closed grocery store in Mattapan became a food hub and commercial kitchen training center. By year 5, the Chin Hayes Foundation owned 17 properties across Boston worth $127 million. My personal stake, 40%, valued at $50.8 million. By year 7 we'd expanded to Providence and Worcester. 29 properties, Total portfolio value, $218 million. My stake, $87.2 million. I told my family I was still working in nonprofits. Technically true, I ran the foundation's community programs. I just happened to also own a significant portion of a 9-figure real estate portfolio. They nodded without interest and returned to discussing Melissa's latest courtroom win. Perfect. I attended family dinners once a month, wearing clothes from Target and saying little. When they asked about money, I said I was managing. When Melissa complained about her contractor or her nanny, I listened. When my parents needed venue donations for their charity galas, I arranged them, listed as from a foundation supporter. They had no idea those venues were buildings I owned. They had no idea I'd been featured in the Boston Business Journal as Community Development Innovator of the Year. They had no idea that last year Governor Hutchinson had appointed me to the state's Affordable Housing Task Force. They had no idea because I never told them. I was conducting an experiment. Would they ever love me for who I was, not for what I could provide or how I made them look at charity luncheons? The data collected over 7 years was conclusive. No. The invitation. For months ago my mother called. Rebecca, darling, we have exciting news. Not, how are you? Not, we've missed you. Just news. What's that? Melissa's been elected chair of the Riverside Children's Foundation board. Isn't that wonderful? Her first major initiative is reorganizing the annual gala, making it more exclusive, more prestigious. She's thinking $50,000 minimum donation for board participation. I closed my eyes. The Riverside Children's Foundation had been doing excellent work for 40 years, focusing on early childhood education in underserved communities. Now Melissa was turning it into a social climbing opportunity. That's quite a change, I said carefully. Well, Melissa says if we want to attract serious money, we need to signal that this is for serious people. Speaking of which, she's looking for venue donations. Do you think that foundation you work with could help? We need something impressive. Maybe 15,000 square feet? Melissa's thinking the Hayes Cultural Center would be perfect. The Hayes Cultural Center. The crown jewel of the Chin Hayes Foundation portfolio. The $12 million renovation of a historic bank building in the South End that I'd spent 3 years developing. The 25,000 square foot space featuring a ballroom, rooftop terrace, commercial kitchen and gallery, all designed to be rented for events, with 100% of proceeds supporting our community programs. The building with my name prominently displayed on the cornerstone, the donor wall and every piece of official documentation. I've heard of it, I said. It's supposed to be spectacular. Melissa saw it at some legal event and absolutely fell in love. Anyway, the planning meeting is next Tuesday at 10 a.m. You're welcome to attend as a volunteer if you'd like. We could use help with catering, coordination or decorating. Simple tasks, things that match your skill set. Simple tasks. Things that match my skill set. I'll be there, I said. Wonderful. Oh, and Rebecca? Maybe dress professionally? Melissa's inviting some important board members and we want to make a good impression. I hung up and stared at my office window. The office overlooking the Boston Common. The office where Marcus and I had just finalized a $40 million acquisition in Cambridge. Then I called David Martinez, the foundation's operations director. David, the Riverside Children's Foundation meeting next week? I need you to do something for me. The planning meeting. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. I arrived at the Hayes Cultural Center at 9:45 a.m. on Tuesday, entering through the staff entrance as I always did. The building gleamed, exposed brick walls I'd personally selected, industrial lighting I'd sourced from an architectural salvage warehouse, hardwood floors we'd restored to their 1920s glory. Every detail represented 3 years of obsessive work. And my family had no idea. David met me in my private office on the 3rd floor. They're setting up in the main conference room. Your mother, Melissa, and 8 board members. Perfect. And the presentation materials. Ready when you are. Good. I'll observe for a while first. I positioned myself in the catering prep area adjacent to the conference room, reviewing menus on my laptop while the meeting began. Through the open door I could hear everything. Melissa's voice carried with courtroom authority. Thank you all for coming. As your new board chair, I want to elevate this foundation to where it belongs, among Boston's premier philanthropic organizations. That starts with our annual gala. Murmurs of approval. This year we're implementing a $50,000 minimum for primary sponsors and board participation. We're moving away from the previous model of accepting smaller donations. If we want to run with serious money, we need to be serious ourselves. My mother's voice joined in. Melissa's absolutely right. We've been too inclusive, frankly. Quality over quantity. I kept typing, my face expressionless. One board member, Patricia Morrison, who'd been with the foundation for 20 years, spoke up hesitantly. But our mission is serving underprivileged children. Won't this exclude community members who want to participate but can't afford $50,000? Patricia, Melissa said with strained patience, we're not running a bake sale. We're building an institution. People who can't write significant checks can volunteer at our programs. The gala is for donors who move the needle. But last year we had wonderful participation from local businesses, teachers, community leaders. And raised $400,000, Melissa interrupted. This year with our new model we'll raise $2 million. That's progress. More murmurs, these more uncertain. My mother stepped in. Now let's discuss the venue. We've been incredibly fortunate to secure the Hayes Cultural Center for October 12th. It's a stunning space, absolutely perfect for the image we're projecting. I looked up from my laptop. October 12th. They'd booked my building without asking me. David caught my eye from across the room. I shook my head slightly. Not yet. The Hayes Center normally charges $25,000 for full-day rentals, Mom continued, but Melissa negotiated it down to a donation in kind. The foundation that owns it was happy to support our cause. I hadn't approved any such arrangement. But I knew exactly what had happened. Melissa had contacted our events coordinator, used her lawyer charm and our family name, and assumed approval without going through proper channels. Now, Melissa said, let's discuss the invitation list. We're keeping this exclusive. Only confirmed $50,000 plus donors. No guests who might dilute the prestige factor. Patricia spoke again. Melissa, I have to ask, does this include the foundation staff? The program directors who actually work with the children? Staff can volunteer at the event, Melissa said dismissively. But no, they won't be guests. This is for donors. What about Rebecca? Patricia asked suddenly. Your sister works in community development. Won't she attend? The room went silent. Then Melissa laughed. Rebecca? God no. She's sweet, but she's not exactly in this league. She makes maybe $45,000 a year working at some nonprofit. She couldn't afford a $50,000 donation if she saved for 10 years. Melissa, Mom said, though her tone was gentle, indulgent, that's unkind. But true. Look, I love my sister, but let's be realistic. This gala is for serious donors only. Not people who can't write $50,000 checks. Rebecca can help with setup if she wants. She's good at that kind of thing. Organizing, decorating, simple tasks. My hands stilled on the keyboard. Actually, Patricia said carefully, I've heard Rebecca does impressive work in community development. Didn't she win some kind of award? She got written up in some local newsletter. Melissa waved dismissively. Community organizing stuff. It's fine for what it is, but it's not exactly building wealth or influence. She's found her level and that's okay. Not everyone can be successful in traditional terms. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever been underestimated by your own family, because what happened next changed everything. I closed my laptop, stood up and walked toward the conference room. David saw me coming and moved to intercept, but I shook my head. He stepped aside, though I saw him pull out his phone. I appeared in the conference room doorway. Rebecca. Mom's face lit up with surprised delight. Darling, what are you doing here? Reviewing the catering arrangements, I said calmly. I wanted to make sure everything was perfect for your event. Melissa's smile was patronizing. That's so sweet of you. See everyone? This is what I mean. Rebecca's great at the behind-the-scenes stuff. Supporting roles. I walked to the empty seat at the foot of the conference table and sat down. Actually, I'm here because this is a planning meeting for an event at my building. I like to personally oversee high-profile bookings. Confused silence. Your building. Melissa's smile didn't waver. Rebecca, this is the Hayes Cultural Center. It's owned by some big foundation. You probably just work in their catering department or something. The Chin Hayes Foundation, I said. I'm the co-founder and managing partner. This is my building. The silence deepened. Mom laughed uncertainly. Honey, that's not funny. This is a serious meeting. I'm aware. Which is why I'm confused about how you booked this venue without going through proper approval channels. Melissa's smile finally cracked. This is ridiculous. Someone tell her. The conference room door opened. David Martinez entered, followed by Marcus Chin and Eleanor Rodriguez, our foundation's legal counsel. Good morning, Marcus said pleasantly. I'm Marcus Chin, co-founder and principal investor of the Chin Hayes Foundation. This is Eleanor Rodriguez, our general counsel, and David Martinez, our operations director. We understand there's been some confusion about venue booking protocols. Patricia Morrison's eyes widened. Marcus Chin? The Marcus Chin? The tech entrepreneur. That's me, Marcus smiled. Though these days I mostly focus on impact-driven real estate development. Alongside my partner Rebecca, of course. We've built quite a portfolio over the past 7 years. Melissa's face had gone pale. This is insane. Rebecca, what kind of prank? Eleanor opened her briefcase and removed a leather folder. Ms. Hayes, the younger Ms. Hayes, I have here the founding documents of the Chin Hayes Foundation, the property deed for this building and current portfolio documentation. Perhaps these will clarify the situation. She slid the documents across the table. The first page showed the foundation's incorporation papers from 7 years ago. Founders, Marcus Chin and Rebecca Elizabeth Hayes. Rebecca's signature. My signature. Clear as day. The second document was the deed for the Hayes Cultural Center. Purchased 4 years ago for $8.2 million. Renovated for an additional $3.8 million. Current assessed value $12 million. Owned by the Chin Hayes Foundation. The third document was our complete portfolio statement, prepared by Deloitte. 29 properties across 3 cities. Total value, $218 million. Ownership structure. Marcus Chin 60%, Rebecca Hayes 40%. My mother's hands trembled as she turned pages. This says you own $87 million in real estate. Give or take, I said quietly. Property values fluctuate. But how? Melissa grabbed the documents. Where did you get the money to? Grandma Elena left me $850,000 when I was 23. I used it as seed capital. Marcus provided additional investment and real estate expertise. I provided community relationships, nonprofit management and development vision. We've built a sustainable model focused on affordable housing and community spaces. Grandma left you money? Mom's voice rose. She never mentioned. She left me a letter too, I said. Told me not to tell you. Said you'd try to control how I invested it. She was right. The room was silent except for pages rustling as board members examined the documents. Patricia Morrison spoke first, her voice awed. You developed the Roxbury Community Hub. And the Dorchester Arts Center. And the Mattapan Food Collective. Those are your projects. Our projects, I gestured to Marcus. Chin Hayes Foundation. It's a partnership. The governor mentioned your work in his State of the Commonwealth address, another board member said. He called you a model for community-centered development. That was you. I nodded. Melissa's face had transitioned from pale to red. This whole time you've been secretly rich? She stopped. While you what? I asked. While you treated me like the family charity case. While you seated me at the kids' table at Thanksgiving because I wasn't important enough for adult conversation. While you uninvited me from your holiday parties because I might embarrass you in front of your lawyer friends. That's not fair, Melissa protested. You never told us you were successful. I shouldn't have had to. My voice stayed level. You should have respected me regardless. You should have valued me for who I was, not for my net worth or social status. But you didn't. Every family dinner, every holiday, every phone call, you made it clear I was less than. Not because I'd actually failed at anything, but because I wasn't successful in the way you define success. Mom reached across the table. Rebecca, we didn't mean. Yes, you did. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes. Should I read some quotes? From this morning's meeting? Rebecca makes maybe $45,000 a year. She couldn't afford a $50,000 donation if she saved for 10 years. She's found her level and that's okay. Not everyone can be successful in traditional terms. Melissa's face crumbled. I didn't know. That's the problem, I said quietly. You didn't know because you never asked. You never cared enough to learn what I actually did. You assumed, and your assumptions reflected how little you thought of me. Eleanor cleared her throat. Ms. Hayes, the elder Ms. Hayes, regarding the venue booking. Our records show your daughter contacted our events coordinator 3 weeks ago, identified herself as a Hayes family member, and verbally confirmed a donation-in-kind booking without going through our standard approval process. Our coordinator, not realizing the family connection to ownership, processed this as approved. However, no such approval was actually granted. So what does that mean? Mom asked weakly. It means, Marcus said, that you don't actually have the venue booked for October 12th. Not unless you go through proper channels and pay our standard rates. Melissa found her voice. But we've already sent save the dates. We've promoted the venue. We can't change locations now. Then I suggest, I said, you go through proper channels. Fill out the booking request. Submit it to our events committee. Pay the $25,000 rental fee plus catering and services. We don't have $25,000 in the budget. Melissa's voice cracked. We were counting on the donation in kind. Then you should have asked the actual owner, I said. Not assumed your family name would open doors. Patricia Morrison spoke carefully. Rebecca, would the Chin Hayes Foundation consider supporting the Riverside Children's Foundation with a venue donation? Your foundation's mission aligns closely with theirs. I met her eyes. She was the only board member who'd questioned Melissa's exclusionary policies, the only one who'd mentioned the foundation's actual mission. Our foundation supports organizations doing meaningful community work, I said. Organizations that center the communities they serve. Organizations that don't implement $50,000 minimum donations that exclude the very people they claim to help. Patricia nodded slowly. I understand. Melissa stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. You're punishing us because you're bitter about some perceived slights. Perceived. I kept my voice quiet, but something in my tone made Melissa stop. Let me tell you what's real, not perceived. I pulled out another folder from my bag. This one hurt to share, but it was necessary. 2 years ago, I applied to join Mom's charitable foundation board. The one she chairs. I thought I could contribute expertise in community development, help refine grant-making strategy. I have a master's degree in nonprofit management and 7 years of experience building successful community programs. I was rejected. I slid a printed email across the table. Mom's email to the board nominating committee. While Rebecca means well, she doesn't have the professional standing or financial capacity we look for in board members. Her work is admirable but not at the level we need. I suggest we decline this application. Mom's face went white. Rebecca, I didn't mean it like that. Last year, I continued, I tried to donate $25,000 to Dad's hospital foundation. Anonymously through my lawyer. The donation was returned with a note saying they only accept 5-figure donations from established donors, not token contributions from well-meaning individuals. I showed them that documentation too. The return check. The condescending letter. 3 years ago, Melissa invited her entire extended family to her daughter's christening. Cousins I'd never met. Her husband's college roommates. 75 people. I wasn't invited. When I asked why, she said the venue was at capacity, and she had to make difficult choices about who really mattered. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. I had limited space. You had space for your husband's dental hygienist, but not your sister. I gathered the documents. These aren't perceived slights. They're a pattern of deliberate exclusion. Of measuring my worth by your standards and finding me lacking. Of treating me like I was too embarrassing, too poor, too unsuccessful to be associated with the Hayes family image. The room was absolutely silent. The truth is, I said quietly, I've spent 7 years building something extraordinary. Not for your approval, I stopped seeking that a long time ago. But to prove to myself that your judgment was wrong. That I had value even if you couldn't see it. I stood up. Marcus and Eleanor stood with me. So here's what happens next, I said. The Riverside Children's Foundation can book this venue through proper channels at standard rates. Or you can find another location. Either way, I'm done providing free venues and donations to organizations run by people who treat me like I'm worthless. Rebecca, please, Mom whispered. Let's talk about this privately. Don't do this in front of the board. Why not? I asked. You had no problem discussing my inadequacies in front of them. You announced to this entire room that I'm not in your league, that I make $45,000 a year, that I'm only good for simple tasks. You've spent years excluding me from family events and opportunities because I embarrassed you. Why should I protect you from the consequences of your own words? Patricia stood. Rebecca, speaking personally, not as a board member but as someone who's watched this foundation lose its way. I'm sorry. You deserved better from them. From all of us. I nodded. Thank you. And speaking as a board member, I think this meeting has revealed some serious problems with our current leadership's vision for this foundation. I'll be calling for a special board meeting to discuss whether our new direction truly serves our mission. Melissa's head snapped toward Patricia. You can't. I can. And I will. Patricia gathered her things. Excuse me. 3 other board members followed her out. I turned to leave but Melissa blocked my path. You planned this. All of it. You wanted to humiliate us. No, I said honestly. I wanted you to respect me. But since that wasn't possible, I settled for teaching you a lesson about making assumptions. So that's it? You're just going to destroy everything we've built. I'm not destroying anything, I said. You did that yourselves when you decided a $50,000 minimum donation was more important than your mission. When you decided prestige mattered more than impact. When you decided excluding people, including your own sister, was a path to success. I stepped around her. Good luck with your gala. I recommend the Fairmont Copley Plaza. They have excellent ballroom space and only charge $20,000 for full-day rentals. As I walked out, Mom called after me. Rebecca, wait. We can fix this. We're family. I turned in the doorway. You're right. We can fix this. Starting with you examining why you measure family worth by bank accounts instead of character. I'll be here when you're ready to have that conversation. But I won't be holding my breath. The fallout. Within 48 hours, Patricia Morrison and 4 other board members resigned from the Riverside Children's Foundation, citing fundamental disagreement with current leadership direction. Their resignation letter, which was leaked to the Boston Globe, mentioned the $50,000 minimum donation policy and raised questions about whether the foundation was serving its mission. The story made headlines. Prominent foundation faces board revolt over exclusionary policies. Melissa tried to spin it as growing pains and strategic differences, but the damage was done. Major donors began questioning the foundation's direction. The Globe investigation revealed that under Melissa's brief leadership, administrative costs had increased by 40% while direct program spending had decreased. Within a week, the full board met and requested Melissa's resignation as chair. She refused, but 3 more board members resigned in protest. By the end of the month, the foundation had lost half its board and 30% of its donor base. The October gala was cancelled entirely. But that wasn't the most interesting part. Patricia Morrison, along with the other resigned board members, approached me with a proposal. They wanted to start a new foundation. One genuinely focused on community-centered philanthropy, one that valued impact over prestige, one that included community voices in leadership. Would the Chin Hayes Foundation consider partnering with them? Marcus and I discussed it for exactly 10 minutes before agreeing. The Boston Community Impact Collaborative launched 3 months later, with Patricia as executive director and me as board chair. The Chin Hayes Foundation provided $5 million in seed funding and offered our community centers as program spaces. Within 6 months, we'd raised an additional $8 million and launched 4 new programs focused on early childhood education, youth development, and family support services. Everything the Riverside Foundation claimed to do but actually doing it. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my office at the Hayes Cultural Center, reviewing grant proposals for the Impact Collaborative. We've received 127 applications for our first funding cycle. The work is extraordinary, grassroots organizations doing transformative work in their communities with minimal resources. This is what philanthropy should look like. My assistant buzzes. Rebecca, your mother is here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. I close my eyes briefly. I haven't spoken to my family since the planning meeting. They've called, texted, emailed. I've responded to none of it. Send her in. Mom enters looking smaller than I remember. She's wearing a simple dress instead of her usual designer labels. No jewelry except her wedding ring. Rebecca. Her voice cracks. Thank you for seeing me. I gesture to a chair. What can I do for you? I came to apologize. Properly. Not with excuses or explanations. Just, I'm sorry. I wait. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking since that meeting. Since the Globe article. Since watching Melissa lose her board position and the foundation fall apart. She takes a shaky breath. We've been asking ourselves how we got here. How we raised a daughter who achieved extraordinary things and we had no idea. How we made you feel so worthless that you hid your success from us for 7 years. And what conclusions did you reach? That we failed you. Tears tracked down her face. That we measured your worth by our standards instead of seeing your actual value. That we were so focused on Melissa's achievements. Achievements we understood, achievements that looked like success to our friends, that we completely dismissed yours. He pulls out a folder. I've been reading about your work. Really reading, not just skimming. The Boston Business Journal profile. The Governor's Task Force reports. The community impact studies. Rebecca, you've helped house over 400 families in affordable units. You've created 15,000 square feet of free community space. You've incubated 73 small businesses owned by people of color. I know, I say quietly. I was there. But we weren't. We should have been celebrating these achievements. We should have been proud. We should have been bragging to everyone about our brilliant daughter who's changing people's lives. Instead, we treated you like you'd failed because you weren't making money the way we understood. I was making money, I point out. You just assumed I wasn't. You're right. We did. She wipes her eyes. I've resigned from 3 of my 4 boards. I can't in good conscience continue chairing organizations focused on helping people when I couldn't even see my own daughter's humanity. That surprises me. Mom. Your father's taking a sabbatical from his hospital foundation leadership. We're both entering family therapy. Separately and together. We need to understand how we became the kind of parents who treated you this way. I study her face. She looks genuine. Broken maybe, but genuine. And Melissa? Mom's face crumples. Melissa's struggling. The foundation board voted to remove her entirely after she tried to sue you for intentional interference with the gala. Her law firm asked her to take a leave of absence because the publicity was affecting their reputation. Marcus filed for divorce last month, citing her refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing. I feel a pang of something. Not quite sympathy, but not satisfaction either. She's been trying to reach you, Mom continues. She wants to apologize. Does she? Or does she want access to my resources now that she knows I have them? The question hangs in the air. I don't know, Mom admits. I'd like to think she's genuinely remorseful. But I also know my daughter, both my daughters, well enough to know that Melissa struggles with seeing beyond her own needs. It's the most honest thing my mother has ever said about Melissa. What do you want from me? I ask directly. Why are you here? I want to know if there's any possibility of rebuilding a relationship. Not today, maybe not this year. But someday. I want to know if you can ever forgive us. I lean back in my chair. I've already forgiven you. Hope flares in her eyes. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, I continue gently. It means I've released the anger and hurt. It means I'm not carrying your dismissal with me anymore. It means I've healed from the damage you caused. But it doesn't mean we get to be a family again, Mom finishes quietly. Not the way we were. That family was broken. It was built on hierarchy and judgment and conditional love. I don't want that back. Then what do you want? I consider this carefully. I want honesty. I want you to genuinely examine why you treated me the way you did. Not surface level, we were wrong, but deep understanding of the values that made you dismiss me. I want to see evidence of change, not performed for my benefit but real change in how you interact with the world. How long will that take? I don't know. Maybe years. Maybe never. I meet her eyes. The point isn't to earn your way back into my life. The point is to become better people. Whether or not that leads to reconciliation is secondary. Mom nods slowly. That's fair. More than fair. And Mom, I need you to understand something. Even if we rebuild a relationship, it won't look like what you lost. I have a family now. Marcus, Patricia, the Impact Collaborative team, the community leaders I work with. People who valued me when I had nothing, who celebrated my victories, who never measured my worth by my bank account. They're my family. Any relationship with you will exist alongside that, not replacing it. I understand. She stands to leave, then turns back. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to say that, no right to claim any part of your success. But I am. You built something beautiful, something meaningful. You became exactly who Grandma Elena hoped you'd be. After she leaves, I sit quietly for a long time. The truth is, I don't know if I'll ever have a real relationship with my parents again. I don't know if Melissa will ever genuinely apologize or just continue playing the victim. I don't know if they're capable of the kind of change that would make reconciliation possible. But I do know this, I don't need them anymore. I have a family I chose. I have work that matters. I have proof, $87.2 million worth of proof, that my worth was never defined by their judgment. They taught me the most valuable lesson of all. Sometimes the greatest gift your family can give you is showing you exactly who not to be. If you've ever had to cut off toxic family to save yourself, tell me your story in the comments. What would you have done in my position? Does any of this feel familiar? The Hayes Cultural Center stands as a monument not to revenge but to resilience. Every event we host, every community program we run, every family we house represents the truth my family couldn't see. Worth isn't measured in social standing or traditional markers of success. It's measured in impact, in integrity, in how you treat people when you have nothing to gain. My name is Rebecca Hayes. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of the Chin Hayes Foundation. I own $87.2 million in community-centered real estate. I chair the Boston Community Impact Collaborative. I serve on the Governor's Affordable Housing Task Force. And I did it all while my family thought I was a failure. Sometimes the people who dismiss you give you the greatest gift of all. The freedom to build something they can't control, can't diminish, and can't take credit for. My family spent 32 years telling me I wasn't enough. I spent 7 years proving them wrong. Now I get to spend the rest of my life proving them irrelevant. Blood doesn't make you family. Respect does. Love does. Showing up consistently, celebrating victories, creating space for growth. That makes family. The haze on the building isn't for them. It's for Grandma Elena, who saw me first. It's for every kid who grows up feeling like they're not enough. It's for everyone who's been dismissed by people who should have celebrated them. It's a reminder that you don't need their approval to build something extraordinary. You just need to believe you're worth it.